Hi, everyone, and welcome back to AI Interconnect, the podcast where we explore how leaders are building smarter, faster, and more resilient system for the future. I'm your host, Lauren, and today we are talking about modular infrastructure, high performance design, and how to deliver housing, hospitality, and utility system in some of the most challenging and excited environments in the world. With me is Andrew Seelye, president and managing partner, I think owner, whatever, and of GPod Americas, a company that is rethinking how we build, not with blue sky theory, but with concrete, transportable, high-tech structure that deliver power, water, and livable design fast. Andrew, it's great to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Laurent, thank you so much. Great to see you. I appreciate it, and it's great to be part of your network connecting people.
That's great. It's going to be a great conversation. You have an amazing product, an amazing company, and let's do that. Let's start from the beginning. What's the story behind GPod? What made you decide to focus on modular design and infrastructure for region like Caribbean, Latin America, and beyond?
Yeah, thanks, Laurent. I was the first GPod customer in the US, and GPod was founded by Dan Sparks from Sparks Architecture out of Brisbane, Australia. So when they went to market here in the US, I was their first customer, and I got involved with them to do some services, and the relationship was good, so I got more involved. And when eventually we changed tactics to we had scale with production in Asia, and because of all the conditions globally, we decided to change tactic, and now we're going at it kind of from the other end. So the story would be we started with what I think is the first global architectural product, which I'm sitting in now. That was our first product called Dwell. And that was a really interesting containerized solution. We try to blend Dan's an unpretentious, little bit Scandinavian, not too luxury, but hospitality oriented. We like to bring in the nature. We like to be able to develop uh, accommodations or residential or office areas in natural places that take the nature as part of the experience but don't impact the nature too much. I mean, we want to limit our damage to the nature, so we try to bring the development and the improvements to the space without too much impact. So our designs are trying to improve a space, maybe give you a little bit more of the natural conditions. And we can do that by maybe water systems that use available water in the location. And we can also do that with, in this case, in this property here where we are in somewhere in Texas, we're using solar. So we can use energy generation on site that allows us to have less infrastructure, allows it to be modular, allows it to be very flexible. And I think it generally improves the capability of someone to develop in a natural area in a better way. So we started with very flexible, modular, in this case, containerized solutions, and now we're offering a series of more um, decentralized designs. So we have some modular pieces that are quite small that can handle equipment and infrastructure, and then we have the residential or accommodations type spaces that are very high performance. So they're a very good fit for something like off-grid development where you're only generating the amount of energy that you need for a site. So our focus is trying to be flexible with the development, trying to incorporate as much nature as possible, trying to incorporate industrialized construction, and so that we're efficient and effective and we can modernize how we're doing things and make things relocatable. And we think that is the best mix for a better product these days in more locations.
Yeah, I love it. It's wonderful. I mean, the your your product, the models are, as you can see on the website, it's unbelievable. I advise everybody to go and check it out. It's beautiful. It's very peculiar, very amazing. It can, as you say, blend in the countryside and be sustainable. Um, but was there, and obviously you were the first client, but now you have uh, you're taking the wheel. But was there a specific project or breaking point that made you realize uh, there has to be a better way to build faster, more resilient, and with utility included? Um, if you can see my idea.
Yeah, Laurent, I think it's a great point because we have already many ways to do things, and we know from for instance, in Europe and parts of Asia, we have very long tradition of construction and how do we build spaces for people. We have a lot of knowledge, but in the U.S., I think we're a little bit slow because we have 8 climate zones. We have a lot of different political conditions, and so for myself, the involvement I've had in construction has gone from when I was very young, heavy construction. So I was working for a Dutch company doing heavy construction in the ocean, and that was a different experience. But I think in every region we have ways that we do things. Here, when I'm in the United States and working, I notice, I think as many people do, that the conditions are difficult. We have I think a very complicated permission, getting a permit, getting approval for a project. It's fairly complicated. We have very um, maybe not ideal ways to deliver the project. So we have construction methodologies that are maybe not perfect for the entire experience of a someone who's a developer or someone who's an occupant. So I think if you live in the US, you probably notice the quality is a little bit low. And so I think I mean, personally for myself, the experience I've had living in homes in the United States and hotels and this kind of product in the US, it can be very disappointing. We don't manage thermal qualities very well. We don't manage air quality very well. We don't manage the durability very well. We don't do very great work. We're kind of an expensive economy, so everything is quite expensive in labor and all of this. And so I think it's a recipe for most people to feel a little bit of disappointment and also for people to be excluded from the market because we have quite a high cost and quite a low value. So I feel like it's natural for most of us in this market in North America to be disappointed. That's the bad part. The good part is that we have other examples globally that we can draw from to do better. So we're trying to take those examples and utilize them in a way that considers all of the global examples and what works better and what can be utilized for different projects in different places. So altogether, I think our goal is to try to reach the point in the construction industry. We want to help make this happen. I think what the construction industry needs is this drawing from technology, drawing from global experiences, drawing from the challenges here at home to try to create solutions that are delivering better value for the communities, for the operators of hospitality businesses, or just for developments. Even at some point, affordable housing. We need to provide housing for the people that is relevant in cost to their income. So all of these challenges are driving us, and I think the the best example for us to work on now is natural conditions, showing what can be done with technology today to limit the damage to a natural site and to develop in a way that really showcases what's possible. Because um, maybe the culture side of construction is tied to what we did before, what we got paid to do before. We know how to do that. We know how to price that. But we need these new models, I think, in a modern, relevant context to help drive the business forward. So the taking the challenges that we started with at the beginning, which were based on disappointment and maybe not optimal results, we're trying to bring in the solutions that we see that we can leverage to make that better. And hopefully we can serve the developers and the builders, giving them what they need and doing it in a more beautiful way, a better feeling for the residents or for the guests at the accommodations, and allowing, I think the experience should be quite good when you stay at a hotel, or if you buy a house. So we really want to achieve that quality for the people that benefits anyone who's staying there or anyone who's owning it in a way that isn't provided for today. We really have a deficiency, so we're trying to address that. And I think the main trigger for us going from a global scale solution, where we had a facility in Asia where we could produce quite a number of units. Um, the trigger there was just global conditions, and we have on one side uh, the U.S., which has a really big market and very complicated market, but we also have understanding globally to address that market. But I don't think we believed we could do it from one factory. So we've revolved, I think, around this problem enough times to say, okay, the best solution will be to create market based production that's fairly local. So we started out globally. Now we've gone, I think the best approach is to be fairly local with our production.
Yeah, yeah. That I mean, definitely that makes sense. Is that coming from the stories about storm-prone region or slow permitting or supply chain delays, all this stuff um, that you wanted to find a solution for?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there are so many. Um, I think because construction involves a lot of bureaucracy and a lot of regulations, health and safety, and they're quite expensive. So there's a lot of money involved, and um, we have so many challenges tied to development that yes, I think that it's quite a big set of challenges, many variables, and yeah, for us addressing it locally to create the understanding of the market and to help the market understand what's possible and what that costs, and to help us understand what's possible and what that costs. That's where we are focused today. And in the U.S., we have probably more complications than most other countries. So if you're out there in Europe or somewhere that has a better process, be patient with us, because I think we're learning. And as we get technology tools, maybe it's AI that helps us understand how to the government itself can use these tools to understand how to permit projects and to facilitate the process. Right now, it's like really, really old fashioned, very slow, very painful, and yeah, we need to change it for sure.
Okay. No, that yeah, that's challenges, and every country are different. So, um, okay, let's. We mentioned it a little bit what GPad actually delivers, but if we unpack a little bit more, um, uh, because this is just about a pretty architecture or a tiny home. It's you're combining design, power, water, structural engineering, and deliver it as a modular solution. Can you break that down to tell us a little bit, maybe the timing from or the rapid deployment or flexibility?
Yeah. I think each project can be very different. So we start from a very high elevation view. We try to understand the project as a whole. Um, our main role is going to be project design and specification. So we act a little bit like the architect. Maybe there's a special architect involved, and we also act like the engineer, but of course there are local engineers involved. But we try to see it very well from a height, enough to see the entire range of variables and challenges, and then we focus on the smaller things. And at some point, each site can be very unique. So we try to have the big view, and then we see it through the industrialized construction lens. So we have all of our designs are industrialized construction designs. We can build them traditionally here in the US. That means somebody brings materials to the site many times perhaps, and then many days of people visiting the site to work. We can do it that way. But the opportunity is also to bring something that's finished to the site. The building that I'm in, we can install those in a few hours, about 4 hours with two people. So that's quite impactful when we want to not make many trips or not have a lot of disturbance at a site. Yes, we have to accommodate electric needs and water needs, but these are subsets of the challenge. So when we understand naturally what's happening on the site, then we can make a pretty good idea about how to develop. If someone owns a property, it's a big property, they have an idea already, probably where they prefer to live. And with our solutions, we can pinpoint that very well. We don't have to put the building right next to a big road or the access area. We can put it pretty much anywhere in the property. So I think we try to be very flexible, but we also try to understand what nature is doing, and then how do we deliver a solution that's based on industrialized construction, but brings the benefits of um, nature and sensible use of the budget and very specifically tailored energy generation or water solutions. So I think the site design part of it is the main focus at the beginning, and then we
Uh,
try
uh,
to uh, build out the plan from there.
okay, yeah, I mean that makes sense. But I mean, beside the sites, um, it started with a project. And what kind of project are you usually brought into? Is it mostly new resorts, residential retreats, climate resilient resilient homes? Um, which
Yes,
one is it?
yes, all of the above. Our main focus, we're not there yet because we're dealing with small regions in the US at a time where we have more demand. So we're trying to, we have to build out the delivery capability, which is really teams. Um, Teams that understand how to build in these regions where we have the demand. So um, ultimately, our niche market would be hospitality, and I think our capability, because we're focused on infrastructure and communications, um, that would be water, electric, and communication systems controls. Uh, these help us compete really well if we're in more natural settings where there isn't a lot of existing infrastructure. So maybe we would call this there's a category now called experiential hospitality. I think we're a really great fit for that group because those operators want something different, want something more beautiful, want something more exciting and more natural for their clients, for their guests. And for us, that's a capability that we have beyond what most of the other companies can provide. But I think, yes, resorts. I have some personal experience doing construction around the ocean, so I have a pretty good idea of what happens near the sea. But also, I think the nature can be really varied, but we need to have solutions that fit. And whether it's a big resort, um, that can be a single building, maybe, or that could be several big buildings, or it could be many smaller buildings. I think we have designs for both of those categories, but whether it's possible for us to do residential homes as well, and that's part of our market campaign right now is to prepare ourselves to do a number of maybe not all of our production, but a number of residential buildings, homes, private properties in each market. So we're kind of on two channels right now as far as the residential products go. And then we have some infrastructure only projects that are going to be focused more on equipment and technology, and those would be in the federal business. So that would be a different vertical for us, but some of the same technology and less residential, very little residential, mostly working space for people and working space for equipment. So that's the two channels that we're on right now.
Beautiful. I love it. I love it. But why why it matters now? Why is it so relevant right now? We have had prefab construction for decades, but what changed? Why are clients shifting to this kind of system now?
I think that's a really good question. You ask good questions. That may be the big one. Laurent, I think that the combination of time, yes, we've had prefabrication for decades, maybe 150 years, globally, I think. The the example that I would start with is we don't have a single global idea of what's a building or what's a house. We have many, many, many examples. We only recently gained the capability to use technologies that didn't exist before and apply them to construction. So I think construction is in the early days of being digitized or impacted technologically. Not just AI or machine learning, but simple things like digital drawing platforms. I mean, we have an amazing amount of technology at our fingertips now. The problem has been that it's fairly siloed, so it's been specific to engineering or specific to architecture or specific to quality control or specific to robotics. Um, and then our ability to communicate has been magnified recently because of all of the communication technology that we have today, cellular and so much else, optics. I mean, it's quite an amazing period of time. We also have infrastructure tools that are um, very new to us, but we also have off the shelf parts to manage systems and create new systems. It simply just it didn't exist 10 years ago, maybe was prohibitively expensive 10 years ago. So I think that the main answer to your question is time. I think that the tools didn't exist. We didn't have the information. We didn't have the knowledge. We didn't have a way to share information that we had or learn new information. So I think that the the beautiful answer to that is that it wasn't really possible before to achieve very beautiful results until today. And we have like solar. When NASA created solar cells to power things in space, I think that it was incredibly low power and incredibly expensive. And now we have quite a lot of cost reduction. We have capabilities that simply didn't exist before. Maybe we could do something, but we couldn't control it very well. So I think that all of those conditions are making the moment very interesting, and I I feel like maybe I'm biased, but I feel like this time can't leave us without progress. So I think that we have no choice but to improve. I think that there's no likelihood that we don't improve. You know, it's there's so much changing and it's so
Of
profound.
course.
I think when we put the pieces together, we have a really different experience. And of course, having a new tool doesn't mean we're good at using the new tool yet. So I think that um, we can be a little bit calm and understand how to use the tools, and then we see the results. I don't think we're going to see the results immediately. We have old old technology, old generation of people, new technology, new generation of people. There's not a big uh, community connection between those two groups. So we have a little ways to go, but I think it's happening really rapidly. And honestly, so much of what we envisioned as GPod just a few years ago was really not very close at hand. But now I think we're in a position to execute things that we really dreamed of recently. So conditions are improving, and the tools have become so much better. So yeah,
Wonderful. Yeah, yeah. I suspect. I'm so curious. I mean, this shift um, could be also due to need to more solid structure due to climate change, maybe,
yeah,
or disaster resilience,
yeah,
um, probably.
yeah,
Um, and you mentioned the timing, the the time to market pressure, or something like this, probably. And this makes a lot of sense. Um, are you seeing more urgency from the client side, like they just don't want just innovation, they just need it yesterday?
Yes, I think that the demand is very high on both the um, infrastructure side and the accommodations or housing or shelter side. I think that the problems are 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 so long plaguing us that people do have a strong sense of frustration. And just for example, like on the federal business side, there aren't very many solutions. So there's a need to develop the solutions pretty quickly because they're needed. Even if you know, disaster response, flexible accommodations during an event. You know, there's a fire or there's an earthquake or there's a flood or something, and then how do we communicate? How do we provide water? How do we provide shelter for people? I mean, we've had these problems for a long time, but we never really had the resources to deploy them well. They're very expensive and very clunky and hard to deploy and not very durable. So we've had the problems for a long time. We've had poor solutions for a long time, and I think that breeds a very great deal of frustration in the population and in the administration side of emergency response or something like that. So across the board, yeah, I think there's a not just demand, but we have such poor quality, particularly in the U.S., really poor quality answers to the questions that we have. So it, I think we have to improve what we're doing. Um, in a case where you need infrastructure, 100 years ago the answer was you just do something. Now you can't just do something. You have too much oversight. You have too much jurisdictional requirements. So you're not just going to dig a trench and put a cable. And even if you do, it's quite expensive. So you're not going to want to move it. Maybe it's not possible to move it. So if we have infrastructure that's not flexible and it's so expensive and it's needed so quickly, and we know that we may need it somewhere else later, we really have no good answer without having flexible, relocatable infrastructure. And of course, we mean on a small scale. It's not going to be relocatable on a massive scale. But I think that the need for relocatability, whether that's accommodations, we don't design everything that we design is not relocatable, but we try to consider that in every case because you don't know what happens, and it's nice to be able to own the infrastructure and relocate it. And if we have a project now that we're working on that involves airports, and the airports are quite complicated spaces. You don't have the ability to make a big change to that space without a lot of bureaucracy and a lot of permission and a lot of planning and a lot of money. So the only way to upgrade part of or all of a facility like a small airport is relocatable infrastructure. So you have to bring what you need to where you need it for as long as you need it. And if it's autonomous, that's the best solution. So that's what we're focused on from the infrastructure side for the federal business. But then we can do the same thing at a job site or a small factory. We can bring what's needed to the site. And when that's not needed anymore, it can go somewhere else because the infrastructure is quite durable, quite flexible, but it needs to be also relocatable. Otherwise, as needs change, we don't have it where we need it.
Okay. I mean, yes, so many questions. It's let's make it tangible. Um, and you say, I mean, do you have example of your previous model who has moved to another
Yeah.
site? Are you keeping track of those in order to maybe you have a maintenance fee
Yeah.
on a monthly basis for this, and you need to keep track of them? It's
Yep.
it's something you do, and it's okay. They move from one side to another, and it's okay. Okay.
Yeah, there are two categories of that. One would be the services fee based, where you have a services arrangement and we can manage it for the client or for you as a residential client, as a business client, depending on your needs. But we would also use them internally. So if we're doing a project somewhere, we can bring our infrastructure to the site. We don't need approvals. We don't need any kind of pre-construction construction. So we can bring our equipment into the space and do everything that we need to do for a project on site. And then if the client wants it, we can leave the equipment there. If whether that's electrical or water infrastructure, we can leave things there, or we can take it to the next site. So that's how we start a project, is to bring in the infrastructure that we need, because as people, we know already what we need. We need really two things, primarily water and electricity, and those are fairly simple things to deliver in most cases, not everywhere, but most cases. So that's the first thing that happens, and yes, they need to be fairly relocatable. So for instance, our autonomous mobile unit, that's an example for the airport projects that we built as a demo, and that's up at Dell right now, and we'll move to North Carolina for the first airport project pretty soon. Um, that's been moved quite a few times, and it's on a trailer, and it's autonomous. It's always running. It has communication. It has electricity. It has ventilation and heating and cooling. So it's fairly comfortable most of the time. And so, yeah, I mean, the relocatability of infrastructure is a pretty simple idea, but I think the way we see it, and the way we're our legacy of management of those systems is not open to this idea. So uh, now that we have pretty small scale energy generation that is very reliable, very easy to work with, I think it opens up. This is part of the technology change that really makes our business much better, because we have the tools now off the shelf. They're fairly commodity level, so they're not really difficult to obtain or deploy or maintain, and they're easy to control. So the systems that exist today make a much better case for what we're doing than they might have 10 years ago. It really helps.
Wonderful. It's I love the story. Um, uh, let's talk about challenges because obviously, um, I mean, we all know. I mean, working across countries, regulation, climates. This isn't plug and play. And what's been the hardest part of scaling a company like GPod? Is it supply chain, permits, educating clients on what's actually possible? Maybe
Uh, uh,
all of the above.
yeah, all of the above. It's so interesting. The challenges exist even when the solutions are at hand. So having a solution doesn't mean we resolve the challenges. I think the challenges can be um, worse or better depending on where you're working and who you're working with. So it varies a lot. For us, I think getting to the point where we had enough designs to give us the depth we need. That was a big that was a big point. If you only have one tool, it's hard to you have to adapt the tool a lot wherever you're working. If you have more tools, I think it helps you solve problems differently. It magnifies the choices that you have. So having adequate number of designs, or the depth in those designs, was very helpful. I think it's it it really varies depending on what you're trying to do. I think labor is a big problem in the U.S. because we have a tradition of not there's not much prestige attached to construction. So maybe for 50 years we've had a reduction in the training, the apprenticeships. The education system really favored uh, a 4 year degree that's mostly for office work. So yeah, we have immigration here. Like most countries, the immigrants often are doing more physical work at a lower cost. So that's been a big part of our story. But yeah, labor is quite interesting here. So not only do we have what we would call insufficient labor, but we also have labor that's not very flexible. So if we call it labor or call it talent, I think it's the same. The problem exists because we pay people to do things, but they're not they're not part of the design process in a cultural sense. So we think of it, we decide we're going to pay someone to do something, but they don't necessarily know what we're trying to do, and they already have a way to do something. So what I mean by they're not part of the design process would be that we don't think about them when we're designing. So I think that's probably the main thing I see just in our conversation when you ask that question. The thing that comes to my mind is our North American business, this particularly the U.S. market, is really plagued by um, a poor depth of understanding of what people can do and what people do when they're paid to do a task. So that means when we need to be flexible, when we need to do something a different way, there may not already be an established path. So the newness of an idea is quite expensive, meaning really if you if you go to, for an example, if we go to a roofing company and we want to do something that they're not used to doing, they have to figure out what is it that we're doing and how do they charge for it and how do they do it well. And that sounds very simple, but it really is a big challenge because the businesses that are providing the talent for the construction work or the labor for the construction work are not in the business of changing, they're in the business of optimizing. So when you give them a new challenge, that's a pretty big challenge. Um, I feel like that is the weakest link that we have. We have all this technology, we have all these good ideas, we have all this land, we have all this material, but we don't have a good cultural understanding of how to utilize all that together to get a result. So the bridge that we need to build first is the bridge to help us develop the talent side, the labor side to execute. Whether they're managing equipment remotely from a digital platform that allows them to control equipment on a job site, or whether they're flying a drone, or whether they're doing something on site very traditional with hand tools. That's the part of the business I think like um, like innovation doesn't start at at the at the point of work. It starts somewhere else often, right? And we impose it on the labor force or the talent pool, and that's not necessarily effective. So we have uh, we have a lot of technology. The technology needs to be deployed intelligently by the people who are delivering the project, and that may be our biggest challenge. Um, we might have a smartphone, but the people need to know how to use the smartphone well. The smartphone needs to be really effective, and we need to have all of the communication capability, the cellular signal or the 5G signal. Like all these things need to be part of the result. And in this country, a very long answer, but I think that's the biggest gap that we have, and probably the longest
I love it.
challenge to solve that we have.
Yeah, no, definitely. Obviously, there are challenges in every countries, and but you pointed out pretty well, and you mentioned technology, and I wanted to jump in. And the show is called the AI Interconnect, and while GPod is clearly hand on, uh, do you see areas where technology or even AI tools could play a role?
Ah,
Whether it is project modeling or water system optimization or client planning. I'm sure this is part of it.
oh, there's so much. Yeah, Laurent, I
Yeah,
think that your topic is a really good one for today. This period in time, we need people like yourself connecting global um, thinkers and doers because we don't know enough and we don't know enough about enough things. So it's the community side of our business is really important right now. So thank you for your focus. Thank you for spreading the ideas and the conversations.
yeah.
For
We need.
sure in our,
I need your help.
yeah, we want to help. I think in a community, that's what you get. You get people adding what they can add and deploying what they get. So we have data and we have learning. So yeah, this is the best part of the modern communication is that we can have these conversations and learn. Um, yeah, I think that your AI interconnect topic is very vital in construction because we have this classic problem. We have old fashioned that needs to be new fashioned, or we have entrenched disciplines that need to see more of what's around them. And I think that the tools that we can create with artificial intelligence, machine learning, and all of the parts that go with it, the compute and the communications and the development of the tools, really, we can have a tool, but it's never going to be good enough. We always need to make it better. So all of those are bound to contribute massively to what we do. And also GPod specifically because we have, I think, a few more challenges than most of the businesses that are very, very focused. They're very developed, they're very mature, they're very focused. We're having to pull pieces from a lot of different directions to make something, and so we need that a little bit more. We're on the vanguard. We're in the beginning of adapting or adopting. So we really need this leverage now to help us build the best processes to optimize sooner. Um, yes, from development planning, getting permitting, um, to understanding which site, if we have 50 possible sites, and to analyze the characteristics of those sites to decide what the
Sure,
best,
sure.
I mean, from weather to environmental risks to modeling, and we can do that for very long durations with the models that we have today. So there's so much. Individual tools, I think that one of the trends that I like is that people seem to be building their own specific little tools with AI platforms. It's very cool. But yeah, there's no end. Like and on the front, we always think about the front, like getting to deliver the project, but then the project has a lifetime, and we need to make that lifetime more, maybe sustainable, maybe durable, maybe operationally excellent or cost effective, and we need to make decisions about those systems and those structures. And the tools that we have today are so important for that. I mean, it's just crazy. Like I think in the industry there has to be, and even in my industry, which is pretty low tech, at least perceived as low tech, like it's mind blowing where we can go. the measurement capabilities to do a project, and you're working on an existing building, to measure that building very well. If you're going to change something significant, to measure that building very well is almost impossible to do it really well. But if you have a drone with a good LiDAR system and maybe good optics, like it just changes everything so fast. And I think that
Yeah.
this is it's impossible not to feel deep passion and excitement for what we can do now. We spend a lot of money
That's
on
true.
construction. We spend a lot of money on so many of these big projects, and a lot of times the money is, I mean, it's just deployed. We don't necessarily get value, and I think that the value result can be way, way, way better. Yeah, it's really
That's
exciting
true.
times.
Now, with this AI stuff, could be used for AI modeling, digital twin,
Yeah,
pre-visualization of your
yeah,
project, assisted AI assisted engineering. I mean, there's so many things, and that blend of smart design, a fast deployment, and data-driven planning. That's where we see the real edge coming, and I'm sure you're into it. Then
very
let's
much.
move forward, or I can help you. Let's move forward. Let's what's coming next for GPod? Are you expanding new design models, new geographic region, or embedding more infrastructure tech or something like this?
Yeah, all of the above. A little bit slow right now. In our other conversations, we've talked a little bit about it. So we went to market globally. We took a different approach. So we backed out a little bit and try a different door, because I think in the long term we have to build the foundation in the old systems. So we need to really build the bridge from the old place to wherever we want to go. And everybody's building the bridge from, you know, wherever they want to be to their final result. But I think we have to anchor the reality of improvement and the reality of deploying this new technology. We have to really start where we're standing today. So we restarted, we did a redo, and I think that this part of it is really important because we have a very good foundation now to understand how do we how do we leverage, how do we deploy technology better, maybe on a very small scale, but have a good understanding of the systems and all the partners that we need. We need a lot of partners, and we're very well connected in the tech space, so we have partners that are giants that are really, really capable and have a long history of being able to deliver very unique, fascinating solutions. So for us, we had to back up and understand where we are in construction today. What do we have to resolve for us to move forward in every direction that we want to go, for the better? So the projects right now are primarily internal projects. We're doing really resolving some of the historical challenges with the labor force or talent pools, to understand how to deploy those traditional resources in a future oriented way. So we're quite occupied with that at the moment, but we also have on the more technology side, we have our systems supporting federal business projects and what we would classify as relocatable infrastructure. So some of those are probably going to be broad, but right now they're focused on communications and energy, and so we're getting off the ground in that category. It's just a little bit easier because it's a little more focused. But yeah, the hospitality industry, I think, will be our focus. So we're trying to line up how we understand how to position ourselves there. I think that there's a great demand that we will realize there. I don't think that we're very excited about doing a traditional resort type of project. If it's um, a little more sophisticated, meaning more sustainable, more quality, more high performance, something like that. We're a little bit interested. The industry may not be there yet, but we're ready for that. So yeah, we're trying to be prepared for, I think, the next wave of um, growth where we've had the tools, we've been doing it a certain way for a long time, we have some new tools. The next step would be to really deploy those tools in a meaningful way, so to get the results that we believe we can get, and prove everything. So we want to start small. We have some understanding to uh, I think improve about how to handle the challenges of the government side. Like how do we facilitate our projects to be easy for governments to get approval on a this would be on a residential project. Um, it's not difficult so much, but we want to push. So we're trying to go like how much can we fit on a spoon? We need to know we want to eat the whole thing, but we have to eat it a piece at a time. So how much can we eat at a time? I think we have to understand how much intensity do we apply to what's a little bit of a traditional project. So those kinds of understandings are the focus now, and we have a pretty cool pipeline taking shape. We're finishing up some really fun prototypes. We're getting to intellectual property that we have our IP. We have several patents, and we're trying to organize all that into a good, seaworthy condition for the journey ahead. So we're getting excited.
It's beautiful. It looks beautiful. And what kind of partners or clients do you want to attract? Mostly.
I think the partnership ecosystem is really amazing. For me, as a systems person, I'm the product guy. So for me, the systems are so exciting, and that ranges from um, ventilation, heating, cooling, ventilation to communication systems, and I mean, it's really incredible the type of partners that we have. I think the engineering teams are amazing. Like, these are people who I think have a history working for military and very, very complicated technology solutions that are bundled together with many partners. So these are people that do. I just, as a systems person, I get really excited about what they do, and so they are creating um, solutions that run different suites of hardware and software, and they all have to be tested. They all have to be able to work together, and maybe they write some software to make things a little bit better. Um, those types of things were not those types of solutions were not typically part of construction or hospitality. So I think it's just so exciting. On the energy side, we have solar is the easiest. So photovoltaics is the easiest place to work. It's probably the cheapest place to work, and in this climate over here, it's really, really easy. So we do a lot of that. We have many types of systems that we're operating all the time to learn from the R&D, and so those partners have the ability to maybe deliver something new that we can try. Um, the the technology that would have come from, I feel like it came from Europe and maybe Japan. Heat pumps, um, energy recovery ventilators, heat recovery ventilators, things like that are very exciting. They they seem kind of simple, but the ability to provide good quality air inside a building and measure that and control it. Use sensors to control the machinery, to make the machinery, all the parts of the machinery work together. This is a really exciting. I mean, this I can't stop talking about it. This is really exciting for me, and I think that the industry, like, we're just learning how to put the different pieces together into a great result, because we've done one thing. Oh, we do really good carpentry, or we really do, we do good masonry work or concrete work, but to put all this together and now have communications and now have all this digital technology, and to be able to incorporate the design and the delivery and the operational, the life cycle, all of these things to measure what we're doing. These are super exciting times. And yeah, so the partner ecosystem is incredible. I feel like that's really the biggest asset that we have as a team, is that the partner ecosystem is uh, really hard to beat. This is what I'm most excited about. I think the construction part is really, to be fair, pretty simple. We know how to
I
measure,
love
we
it.
know how to design it. Okay, great. We need to do that better. We need to deliver it better. It's the human side of it that needs to change a little bit. We need to raise the standards, but the partner ecosystem is so exciting now, and I I feel like our our life cycle as a business, where we are birth to the future, is very deeply entwined with this partner ecosystem. So it's like the sky is the limit. We can do everything that we need to do. It's really exciting. And I mean, communications, we have to speak with each other. We have to do coordination of planning. We have to do coordination of delivery. We have to do operational communication. So just that level. Of course, we all have a cell phone. We all have internet or something, but not everywhere and not all the time. And so to have this ability to go pretty much everywhere and have communication, just that alone is phenomenal. So I think
Yeah, yeah.
it's a huge topic, and yeah,
I
it's
love it.
really exciting.
Yeah, I love it, and your excitement is very contagious, and I love it myself. Um, and 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 lastly, is there a project or opportunity type you wish more people
Hmm.
came to you for?
Yeah, I think that the easiest thing for most people to understand, in at least in our market over here in the U.S., is that the um, the range of the expectation is quite low, and I would like the marketplace to understand what to ask for. And I think that the construction industry, with all of its technology and with all of its capability, does a very poor job. I don't understand it. I think it might just be culture, but I think we do a very poor job of communicating with potential clients, not just homeowners, but project project owners. There's only so much they can understand. There's only so much they can be familiar with. And I think that we don't have the channels of communication available to communicate the range of possibility. I think the possibility is so big, and we're in the industry where we're dealing with what we know already, with what we're familiar with. We've measured everything. So once we measured it, okay, we know already what to do. I think that is the weakness that we have now. So I would like to see the marketplace know that they can ask more, or maybe try to learn more, whether that's builders or developers talking to us, because what we can do for builders and developers, I think, is quite a lot more value. It is a lot more to consider. You do have to think a lot more as a builder or developer using our solutions, but only at the beginning. So I would like to see um, builders and developers who understand that there are more capabilities that they are not yet benefiting from. I would like to talk to those people because I think that's where we have the greatest opportunity to make a difference and really improve their businesses. It's our job to make more projects happen in a shorter period of time and get better results. So I think that's the main thing, is communicating what's possible. I don't think it's easy because if we speak something that people don't understand, it may make sense to us, but it maybe doesn't make sense. Even they don't know how to ask the question because it doesn't touch them. I think we need to do a better job with communication, and that is really the area where I would love to see if people have experience with projects and they know already what they can do, but they believe that there's something they can do better. Those are the people that I think we can help, and it doesn't have to be only one type of project. So communicating the potential would be the weakest thing the industry does, and okay, a lot of things are new, but we really need to bring those solutions to the builders and developers in a way that they can use them today. That's what we would like to see.
That's beautiful. I love it, and we always come down to communication and education. We need to educate in order for them to move forward and change. Um, Andrew, this was incredible. A really deep dive into not just what you build, but why it matters. And I really appreciate your patience for taking the time. Thank you so much. Um, where if someone's listening, whether they are a developer, a builder, or someone dreaming up uh, of a smart off-grid home, um, where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, thanks, Laurent. It's a pleasure to be here. I love having met you and to have communication with you. I really enjoy what you're doing. We need so much more, so I'm happy to support it. We are on LinkedIn, GPod, and also I guess Instagram would be our other main platform. And you can find me on LinkedIn, Andrew Andrew Seelye Seelye, and on Instagram we are at GPod Americas. And yeah, we hope to hear from anyone who's interested. And thank you, Laurent, for what you do. Keep up the great work, and look forward to
Yeah,
keeping the conversation going and seeing all the
it
changes
has
from your networking.
it ha- it has been great. Everything will be published on YouTube and Spotify, LinkedIn, and tagged everywhere. Then people will see your site and find you. And thank you so much, Andrew, for taking the time. And that's
Thank you
it
so
for
much.
today's episode of the AI Interconnect. And if you enjoyed it, share it with someone who is building the future, or better yet, someone who should be. And until next time, stay curious, stay creative, and keep building. Thank you.